I wasn't dreading it last week. It's like, I don't know. When you talk on a microphone as much as I do, just too much.
Yeah.
There's just sometimes, like, there's occasion, like even before this one, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about today. Welcome in to the Press Review Show. Me and David Eichel back again every week, every Wednesday. But even before this show, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. A lot of good little nuggets. Brennan Sullivan.
Yeah.
We've been talking about him for a few weeks. Finally made his appearance. Revenge game complete. Maybe they just kept him. They just kept him in the
garage.
They just kept him in the garage. They kept him on deck just for this game to unload for the stories. But even before this episode, it's just like, depending on, the mood of the day and like how much I slept and how I feel, and it's like 5 minutes of like mental preparation, because I just like, okay, let's go out there and make a great podcast today. All right, ready, break.
Let's do it.
How are you doing?
It's like calling a play.
It is like calling a play.
It's making that great podcast. I'm good, man. Busy season coming up. In the middle of it. Women's exhibition tonight. Game Saturday. Men's basketball Monday. Back at it.
Real games? When do real games start?
So the men real game starts on Monday, and I believe the women are Wednesday, like next Wednesday.
Like actual games.
Yep. Yeah, tonight's just the exhibition.
They count for the record. They'll go into cool.
All guts and glory.
Exhibition tonight against who?
Missouri Western.
Big opponent.
Big opponent. Actually, funny. The play-by-play guy was actually one of my best friends in college, and I have not seen him in like 3 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about that.
First basketball game. I know. KF Review Podcast. We're going to talk more basketball. I got to keep David fresh. If David, his life is becoming half football, half basketball now for the next, 2 months, basically.
Yeah. I mean, well, then you think about signing day and everything. So that gets thrown in the mix too.
When is signing day?
Third Wednesday of December. I need to double check the exact date, but like November, December is just such a cluster for us. There's just so much stuff.
And that's signing day for football?
Yeah. Basketball's already done.
When is their signing day?
I believe it's like October or very early November. Maybe it's not done. But Iowa's class is, not really there yet. So I'm not stressing out about it.
For Iowa basketball?
Yeah.
How many scholarships?
I know the men and women sign around the same time, and I know the women's class has not signed yet. You know what? I should know this. This is a good idea.
Bring it up.
I appreciate that.
I'm just keeping you on your toes, just trying to keep you in tip-top shape here.
I appreciate that.
The fans will appreciate it as well.
I mean, I'll appreciate it too when I put it to brain. Fall signing day, November 13th. Okay.
Is basketball?
That's what I'm seeing from the NCAA.
And how many recruits do you bring in a basketball class? Like 4?
It depends on the year, but honestly, there's no real great range, because you think about it, like with the transfer portal, like the mid-majors get completely decimated because a lot of them end up transferring out to go to higher. People go to the NBA. I mean, like, I know I've talked to coaches on coaching staffs who've said they're going completely away from high school recruiting, and they're doing solely transfers.
Okay. How about?
Yeah, it's wild west. I know Fran's not thrilled with the direction, but I've kind of said this for the past couple of years. The worst coaching job right now is the low major coach for like basketball, because the second you get a superstar player, they're going to leave.
Well, it's similar. Yeah, it's similar to like the MAC in football.
Yeah.
Like right now as it stands, NIL and portal, the combo of those and where they sit currently, we've just created a farm system, basically.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. I mean, like the low majors are essentially minor leagues to get into high-end power conference football or basketball.
Like that Ross guy who went off on us from Troy.
Yeah, I'm about to look up his. I was actually thinking about him the other day. I'm going to go look up his stats for the year.
I don't know if he's continued to ball out, but I guarantee there's going to be a couple people, if there haven't been already, who are in his DMs like, hey, you want to come to Tallahassee? You want to come to Gainesville?
49 receptions for 751 yards, 8 touchdowns.
I mean, it's pretty good.
And the second leading receiver on his team has 235 yards.
Yeah, I mean, so that guy's going to have some opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean the quarterback for Indiana. He was at Ohio and beat Iowa State last year, right?
Yep.
And then
that was when Campbell was not on the hot seat, but there was a lot of talk about Campbell.
There was a lot of I actually don't know if that's true. I don't know if at like one of the bottom 5 programs in the history of college football, how much it really takes to be on the hot seat. But like Campbell, his stock was so high in like 2019, 2020. And then it dropped a little
If
bit.
he's going to leave, he might want to leave this year.
He's going to have another opportunity.
I also think Iowa State's going to be good again next year if they can keep everybody on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because coaches have different desires path-wise.
Yeah.
And, you got a guy like KF who's he's cool, chilling. Iowa's above his line of satisfaction. He comes in, he'll stay there until he's done. And then Grant and I talked about this yesterday on a podcast. Lane Kiffin, every year, it's like, oh, this guy could be at a different SEC school next year. Like,
talking about him in Florida.
Yeah, Signetti. He's coaching at like Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Then he goes to JMU. Now he's in Indiana. Like, how quickly is he gone from Indiana? Right.
I think this year.
You think it's a one and done, huh?
And again, I don't know him. I haven't talked to anybody, but you think about it, like that kind of season's not going to happen again at Indiana. And the other part is if you're that wired like that, you want to be at a school where football's king. Football will never be king at Indiana. That's always going to be basketball.
With him, it just seems like he's not in a bad way. It sucks because you don't want to look at a coach and be like, well, they shouldn't look to advance their career.
Yeah.
Like, they shouldn't look, But in the same time, you're like, okay, you're going to come in for 1 year and just, okay. I mean, it is what it is. Anyway.
That's why I've always said about the players, though, when we talk about the players' rights to transfer, if the head coach leaves, everybody should be 100% allowed to leave for a month. And I think that's that's the rule in place now. It's the right thing to do.
Anyway, where I was going with all that was first basketball game. So next week will be the first basketball game without Caitlin Clark since 2019.
COVID year, because everybody missed out her first year, and I think that's why it took her stock a little bit more to blow up nationally. It's because nobody could go see her.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird.
It'll be weird tonight because Jan Jensen's coaching debut too. Even though
there's no Bluter, no Clark
for 20 years, like.
It's just weird in general. I don't know. I feel like it's such a seamless. It feels seamless to me on the coaching side.
Yeah. There was never really danger for anybody leaving. Like, they all reaffirmed their commitment to her right away. And Jan's been there so long to where it's just kind of like, okay. Because everybody obviously talked about Lisa Bluter, but you always put Jan Jensen and Lisa almost
like
on
right
even
there.
Field.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to be good. Not a basketball. I just, I keep considering, you're obviously covering the sports. You're much more in the know. And Grant loves basketball. So like, I might have to have you during basketball season come on and do a little half-hour show every week or two with Grant. I'll be
talk ball.
I wouldn't be worth a shit on that podcast, but I think Grant would love doing that.
Might have to talk to my boy there.
Gonna have to set that one up. I think the fans would love it. KF press review show. Post game.
Where do you want to start? A lot of little nice, nuggets the other day.
Going all the way back to the post game presser, I thought it was interesting. He was talking about, he openly, very openly, in like multiple weeks now, has talked about how like, yeah, Brendan's more mobile. Like he's clearly better than Cade at that. Like he's not scared to say that. We saw that in effect on Saturday multiple times. Block down field after he throws it, pulls it on the down in the goal line and runs it in. Gets in the face
Smiled
of
in his whole team's face.
Yeah.
Dude's got a chip on his shoulder. He's very
and Kirk,
low key. And I was asking Logan and them yesterday about me, and they were like, "Oh no, he likes to talk, but like he just keeps it so mellow, and he doesn't get caught talking like that."
I love that. Kirk talked about that. He said, we're a little bit worried about his emotions as far as like putting him in against his former team, like and what that, but he handled it well. Just the look of him, like I look at him and I just think, oh, yeah, that guy likes to talk shit. Like that guy wants to get,
yeah.
he like bring the smoke. I think Sullivan wants the smoke. That's
it's interesting. Talking to him yesterday, he thought he was going to be a college basketball player instead of a football player until his junior year of high school. He said his phone started blowing up one day, and he said, "I'm going to take football more serious."
I wish I had those options.
And I'll tell you, it was funny because he said, "Yeah, I think I'm one of the best basketball players on the team." He was talking a little bit like that, and I said, and somebody else asked him about, well, who are some of the other guys? He mentioned, like Deontay Craig and a couple other people, and I said, do you really want Deontay Craig on the block against you? Because Deontay Craig is not a small human being. And he goes, I'll take him on the block, post, perimeter, wherever he wants it. I'll do it. And I was like, that's a quarterback right there. He was like, I want that.
One of the more fun conversations or like theoreticals within the locker room was always like dudes who could play. I mean, I played with just in my 5 years, and then you can extend that out to pretty much eternity before me, after me. Like there were numerous guys on our roster, and there probably are right now, where if they would have just veered off to the basketball path instead of the football path around 8th or 9th grade, they could have been a Division 1 basketball player. Like there's that type of talent. Like
that was Kayvon Merriweather. He was going to go
Really?
D1 in basketball. He had a couple D1 offers, and then Iowa offered him for football 8.
Wow. Like I remember,
he had a few D1 offers.
When we would, there was several times where we would go to the rec and like, you get like 12 or 15 guys, and Josie, Anthony Nelson. I played against a bunch of the guys in basketball.
Yeah.
Keegan Render. Try guarding Keegan Render in the post. That was me. Indianola versus Marshalltown, circa 2012, 2013. It was impossible to like to not let him back you down. It was insane. But yeah, like I remember like Sam Brinks, I mean Epi, a bunch of the receivers all played basketball. Like it was crazy what some of these guys would do. You just like insane.
Especially dudes that size, AJ was a dog to basketball player for Edwardsville. And okay, so really quick, Kayvon had an offer from Western Michigan to go play basketball, and Ferris State D2 to go play point guard for them. Do you remember seeing the clip of Kayvon Merriweather in the Iowa Rec Center absolutely posterizing a dude?
I think I do remember that. Yeah,
like it would have been on Sports Center had it been in a game. Like it was absolutely filthy. I remember I have an interview somewhere in my archives with Kayvon. He was like, yeah, after the video came out, that dude found me in the rec center and came up to me and said, why'd you have to do that to me?
Yeah, ruined that guy's life. Just guy could never show up at the rec again. Made sure to never play against any football players again. No, I think it's good. I think Brennan's a baller, and it's interesting. Somebody asked Coach, about rotating QBs once Cade is back. Obviously, the big news yesterday, KF started off the press conference with it, was that Cade's out. So there won't even be a chance. And I think what's unfortunate, sort of in a roundabout way, is that people are like okay with that, maybe happy about that in a way. Because I think people are scared that like, oh, we'll go back to, you know, very obvious results here. Just like follow the caveman line of thinking. People want Brendan. They've been calling for Brendan. Brendan finally comes in. The Hawks dominate with Brendan. Oh, it's Brendan. Like it was Brendan the whole time. Like he's our guy. We don't want to go back to the old. And then Cade is hurt, and people are like, perfect. We don't even have a chance. KF doesn't even have the opportunity to put Cade in. He's probably not putting Marco Lainez in. So Brendan's our guy.
We're gonna have to see about Marco too, because I've heard rumblings that he's dinged up too, and I think that's why Chad Lysico was like, okay, so Marco's your backup, and Kirk was kind of like, yeah, he's our backup, but like, let me put it this way, they're really banking on Brennan Sullivan being ready to go the entire game.
I mean, we got Resar at wide receiver,
and he's out right now too,
and he's hurt too. People were a little confused. People were confused about that one online.
Yeah, so let me provide some context here. I thought if you could teach him how to throw a football mechanically and get into that D1 power conference level, that he'd be Iowa's best athlete at quarterback since Brad Banks. And I don't think it's particularly close. Like he's a very, very big body player, very good athlete. His throwing mechanics and release time were among the worst in his class across the quarterback board. Like if you go to 24/7 Sports and look at his you know how they do like the player scouting and all that, and how they rank them and stuff like that.
6'4"?
He's 6'4", which is part of the reason they switched him at wide receiver. But if you go to his 24/7 Sports profile, Tyler, 24/7 Sports rated him as an athlete. They didn't rank him among the quarterbacks because they felt that there was a strong chance that he was not end up going to be able to play quarterback. And if you actually look at who they reminded him of, it's Matt Jones. So they love his athleticism, but he's a plus athlete trying to play the game's hardest position. Like that's in the actual scouting report of James Resar. But, you know, he's fast. If he can learn how to block and if he can make that transition, I mean, Iowa's had some success moving high school quarterbacks to wide receiver.
Dude, he's
one of the best receivers in school history is that way.
He's huge, 6'4", call it 215.
Yeah.
And he runs 10.67 in the 100.
Yeah.
You
see why people want him to be able to stay at quarterback though? Like,
no, I mean, like, yes, but like also, I think I'd rather have that at receiver. What if he could be Marvin McNutt, right? Like,
there you go.
We just don't get 6'4" a lot. We don't get 6'4" a lot. I don't know if he can catch, but I hope. But at 10.64, got to imagine he can run routes. He can get a little separation.
And playing high school quarterback, he understands the timing aspect of it, and he's going to know some of the receivers' tendencies and like what you need to be able to do and the importance about studying routes and all that. So I think it's an advantage there, but obviously it's going to be a while before he has a chance to see the field, and he is injured right now. But
true freshman, right?
True freshman. So he'll redshirt this year, so he'll still have 4 more years. So again, I think it pans out well for Iowa. I think it makes a lot of sense in the long run, especially when you look at Iowa only has 1 receiver coming in next year's recruiting class in Terrence Smith, who, by the way, could be year 1 impact guy. He's got that.
And he's
upside.
Also like 6'4".
He's a big bodied receiver. Yeah.
God dang. We're just, dude. I'm telling you, let Lester cook a little bit. Is all I'm saying. Get this offense in. Get a
6'3", 192.
Oh yeah, he'll be over 200 by the time. Oh yeah, a couple 200+ pound receivers at 6'3", 6'4". We're about to have length. You know what's gonna happen, David? You know what's gonna happen?
5 wide, air raid.
I don't think we're going 5 wide, but we're gonna have all these. We're gonna have Brennan Sullivan at quarterback, dual threat. You know, like RPO guy. We're gonna have all these receivers, RVZ. I think we still have Do we still have Weechin for another year?
I think Weechen's done after this year.
Okay, so we got Jacob Gill, we've got Dayton
Dayton
Howard, Jerry.
Howard.
Then we're gonna have Resar as a potential. This new guy that you just mentioned, Terrence, as a potential. And then the defense is going to be like, just, take a step back, a little bit of a rebuild year. The offensive line is going to have a lot of questions next year. And we're going to completely flip the script. We're going to have like unbelievable talent. We're going to start throwing it downfield. But then the Hawks are just going to be like, we're going to turn it over and like the defense is going to give up more points than usual. And it's going to be like, people are going to be pissed. We finally get these receivers. We're going to have like a downfield passing attack. But everything else is going to be not what it usually is.
I like a lot of the young talent in the wide receiver room, and I think Sullivan definitely has a more capable arm than Cade. And going back to Cade, like being in Kinnick
Although threw a bomb to Seth Anderson.
Overthrew him a little bit. It was a good grab by Seth.
But hey, the whole thing has been like Cade can't get there.
I did not know Cade could get the ball that far. I will not. I did not think
that's his best looking deep ball in a long time.
Yeah,
which didn't really help that he came. Didn't help that he came back and threw a duck that got picked, and on the throw that I believe he got the concussion.
That's when they said, and he did come back in, but we asked Kirk about that yesterday, and Kirk was just like, he wasn't disoriented, didn't give off any signs, so he must have gotten checked out after the pick six, and then really checked out, or either that, or they decided to stick with Sullivan until halftime. He got checked out at halftime. I'm not sure the exact process that went through when it came to Cade, but I got to tell you, man, being in Kinnick Stadium, the animosity for Cade was so apparent from the get-go. Like, no matter almost what Cade did, they wanted to see Brennan Sullivan. 45 minutes for the game, they usually do the starting lineups on the video board and all of that.
Yep.
I mean, Tyler, Cade was booed.
Yeah, it's
before the game.
I talked about it. I'm not going to.
I'm just saying, we don't need to get into it, but like I'm saying, that's where the fan base was, and then the ovation that they got when Sullivan went in there. One of the biggest cheers of the game, seriously, was one on Sullivan. I think it was Sullivan's second play. He dodged two different guys in the pocket, got to the outside, gained 3 yards. It was still 3rd and 2. The crowd game was standing O.
Yeah, I know. It's just where they are, and it's not like I expect much more from a crowd that is heavily influenced by alcohol at this point. It's like a night. It's not a night game, but it's an afternoon game. People have been tailgating. Mob mentality. Mob mentality. You hear 10 or 20 other thousand people boo. You just join in because you're at the game. It's part of the experience. I get it. I still think that, and I said this on the main show, that booing is a childish, self-serving thing, and it actually accomplishes nothing. And people will come to the defense of it. They're like, I've seen several people even try and have a level-headed opinion about like, well, they're not, a lot of people aren't booing the player. They're booing the situation and trying to express their dislike for the, who's out on the field or the coaching decisions. And it's like, okay, so you think 300 to 400 feet away booing is gonna, Kirk's gonna hear that, or the coaching staff is gonna hear that, and that's gonna change something? It doesn't do anything. I don't. And the players,
they're gonna go through their own process. I've kind of just succumbed to the belief. I think there are things that can go completely over the line. I think throwing shit on the field, which has become much more apparent, and I'm not saying Iowa, but like across the country, for different reasons. I think that's going too far. The booing wise, it's been interesting hearing a lot of different athletes talk about that, because some are like they have every right, and some are like, what are you trying to accomplish? Right? Like,
no. I understand they still have the right, and it's never going to stop. Booing's always going to be part of sport. I just think if you want to logically think about it on an individual level, the individual who chooses to boo is not accomplishing anything. Like it's not going to.
I agree. It's a total dopamine boost, and it's a total like ego self-serving thing. But I also would point to this, like, and again, I hate being the type to be like, oh, well, they're paying their salary. I mean, essentially, like, there is probably a percentage where they are contributing to that. But I think about, not only are they spending thousands of dollars to get tickets, hotels, tailgate, etc., and now they're being asked to donate to the players as far as the NIL aspect goes. I think that when you're asked to donate that much, if they're really not performing to what they're capable of or what they expect, I think it's just kind of hard to defend it at this point. But I do think that there's certainly some self-serving things that
I have a
go
different
over
take
the
on that.
line. Okay.
Maybe it's a bigger episode, but I
Okay.
get the whole thing. I get the whole thing, and it's part of this conversation of like, well, now the guys are paid, so now we can badmouth them, like, or not even like people aren't even saying like that you can come after them personally. I don't think ever coming after somebody personally
No,
is
absolutely not. Yeah,
that
I want to
always
preface
crosses the line.
that too.
But
Yeah.
people are saying, well, now that they're paid, now you can really criticize them. You can like in interviews, you can really like, put their hand to the fire, like, and all this stuff is like, okay, nothing changed actually though, right? Like they're just now they're getting money in their pot. Like there's the transfer of money to their bank accounts doesn't like unlock. There's only the only way that makes sense is you saying, well, now they're paid, so it makes sense. It's like a
I think
total false.
part of it too is for certain players and certain star players how much they're getting paid when they're being asked to donate to guys who are making 10 to 15 times their salary, like that person's yearly salary.
Sure. And then what I come back around to is like, well, I spend money, I come and I tailgate, I buy the season tickets, I'm a donor to the program. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Donors and fans are important. The position of donors and fans are important. The problem is that you as an individual are not special. You are making that choice. It is amazing that you are making that choice. Great for you. If you choose not to donate or you choose not to renew your tickets next year, there's going to be somebody else that fills that role.
I totally agree with that.
The role of donor, fan, supporter is important. It means something to the university, the players, the coaches. You personally are not important. That is my, and that's a harsh,
totally
that's a really harsh. And I know there's a lot of people out there who will listen to that from a former player and be like, wow, what a greedy, unthankful. What am I saying?
I know what you're saying. I mean, essentially, you're replaceable, and it goes back to the same thing. Like people are going to make the same argument with the media. I'm totally irreplaceable.
Everybody's replaceable.
Like, everybody's replaceable. So no, I agree totally with that. Okay, quarterback. Again, there's always going to be different positions that have a certain level of ego, whether they want to feel entitled to it or not. That's up to them. But there will always be somebody that takes your place, and that's what it really comes down to.
Absolutely. There's some other player that could get on and do a better podcast than me. There's some other coach in a lot of people's eyes that could come in and do a better job than KF. There's a better reporter out there than David Eichel. Everybody's replaceable. I hate when somebody uses the absolute of, well, I made the conscious choice, which I can stop doing at any time, to donate, buy season tickets, support them at the concession stand, donate to the Swarm. Now I have the absolute guaranteed right to express my displeasure in a way and be heard. And it's just like, I just don't believe that. It's just like,
essentially you're rebranding the phrase, do you know who I am?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, it just is. But those are thoughts.
It's an interesting dynamic when it comes to the relationship between the schools, the athletes, the coaches, and the fans. And that's something that I think we're going to continue to see develop throughout the next 2 or 3 years. It's not perfect right now. I don't think it's ever going to be perfect. But I also still think the foundation of all of this is still being built because it's still so new.
Yeah. I think that if anybody on the money side of things has an argument of saying, has an argument of like, okay, we're paying you now I can really start to like come down on you or make this judge you because of how much is going in your bank account, it would be the coaches. Like if Kirk came to Cade and was like, hey bud, paid you a lot of money, you're not playing good.
And I guarantee
that would make sense.
There are colleges out there where that's 1,000% a thing.
And that makes more sense to me.
That's happening.
That makes more sense to me because the coach is the one who really put they're the one who made the choice to bring them into the program and really put actual commitment into, like, I don't know, not a Not a thing.
No, it's an interesting conversation. I know we kind of veered off, but like it's going to be a very
I
real
probably
thing
ruffle
that's going to
feathers.
involve with that Iowa too.
Yeah, I ruffle feathers with that because I think, especially as a former player, I understand how you don't want to hear a former player talk about how like the fan isn't important and how your money but it's just like your money in general, support in general, important. Your specifically John Smith, whatever you are, your money is just it's faceless. It's
Well, again,
nameless, right?
I don't think you're not. Here's the thing though that people need to realize, because I know what you're saying. You're not downplaying the fans' role. You're downplaying
Oh,
one individual fan or a group of fans that think they're better or more
yeah,
important than anyone else. When in
right.
reality, there will always be somebody else that goes and takes their place if they don't want to
Yeah,
do it.
for sure. Interesting thing about Cade's concussion that I thought was I was like, huh, interesting. Is Kirk was like, yeah, he's gonna try and go to class today. And then later in the thing, he said he couldn't make it through meetings. I was like, holy smokes. Guy
Yeah,
must have got
he got rocked.
that's not good.
I was kind of annoyed with the conspiracy theories about if K is really hurt. Like, I understand the angst behind it, but let me put it this way for a broader scope of things. With the way sports books are, with the way Big Ten is now with injury protocols, like
Oh yeah.
coaches and universities get in trouble now if they aren't accurately disclosing certain things.
Or how about just Cade in general? You think Cade McNamara would allow KF and the team to create some sort of conspiracy like, hey, we're gonna say that you have a concussion and that you're not even available this week just to make this transition look a little better. Oh my God.
Say
How
what you want
stupid.
about Cade, but Cade's not a wuss. Like, he played through a bunch of injuries at Michigan. He played with like a broken rib against Rutgers. When he was at Michigan, he played all
Yeah.
last season hurt. I mean, that's a guy who's, again, he got his helmet taken away on the sideline. It's going to take that to keep him out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way he's hardwired. So, again, maybe he has not been the best quarterback for Iowa. I don't think he's been even average. I'm not going to pile on the kid from that standpoint, but like, he's not a wimp. He would play through the injury
Yeah.
if you'd be able to do. But with that being said, Tyler, I think it's safe to say now, this is Brendan Sullivan's show. If they rotate quarterbacks, I 100% understand everybody being upset with them because I saw too many intangibles with Brendan. From my vantage point, this all comes down to these next 4 or 5 games for Brendan. It's a complete audition to if he's capable of being the guy next year or if Iowa goes and tries to hit the transfer portal to land a quarterback.
Yeah. I would say in today's world, regardless, like Brendan could come out and be Johnny Manziel for the next 5 games. If I'm Kirk and staff, I'm still in the portal. Like we need
They need depth.
like if there's a buffet out there, why not put a little extra meat on your plate, right?
Yeah.
You're already in the game, right? So
They're going to have to
they need depth.
prioritize, though, how many players they're going to want to get in the portal because there's so many open position battles, I think, going into next season. They're going to have to prioritize what's really important if they want to rock with Brendan Sullivan. Because for my money, and I'll put this hot take out there now. I know, shocker, right? Incoming freshman Jimmy Sullivan has the capability of being the starting quarterback after Brendan Sullivan.
There you go. Wow, like that. It's gonna be a weird year too, by the way, with all like the COVID years finally sort of wrap up next year. So
Finally,
roster spots and like scholarship, like all of that, especially with the new rules, like there's a bunch of turnover. So yeah, interesting stuff. More about Brendan though. Coach Ferentz talked about him leading the group in sprints this summer, commanding respect like through his play and how the players really like him. You heard a little bit of that from Cade, but like you almost hear it more in a physical way from the workouts, from the practices with Brendan. Something about that guy. I get the feeling the way that Kirk talks about him that he's a locker room guy. Dudes like him. And Kirk talked about how the quarterback room in general, he mentioned, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields right now in Pittsburgh, how he says there's a similar feel a little bit with Cade and Brendan. Like they're all about it. They're competitive. They help each other out. They're good friends. Like they are. And they used to talk about that with like Petrus and Padilla too. Like they foster. They might not recruit great talent or currently develop great quarterback talent.
Yep.
But hey, they can manage the egos of the room and make sure they're friends at least. Hey, that's you're saying something there.
And that's going to be an increasingly important skill as NIL and money comes into the equation.
For
I
sure.
think that's why culture is going to be a very important thing. And Brendan told us yesterday that Cade sent him a handful of text messages over the past couple of days, just supporting him. And Brendan basically just said, he has my back and I have his, like we support each other. So
Yeah.
I think that's, that's important in this time like this. And, I know Cade's being paid this money, so this is going to go over some people's heads. Ultimately, it's still an incredibly sad ordeal for Cade because, for my money, I don't see how it's possible, unless Brendan absolutely shits the bed, for them to go back to Cade McNamara, just because it was the first time in a decade where if the pocket collapsed, the play wasn't over. Like Brendan did a hell of a job being able to escape the pocket. There was one play in particular, Tyler, that I was sold, and it resulted in 0 yards. He escaped the pocket, went all the way down the right side, couldn't find anybody downfield, came all the way back across, got the offensive line re-engaged in a play, ran all the way back to the other sideline, and then decided to throw the ball away. And I'm like, okay, he just outran and dodged about 4 or 5 different players, kept the play alive, and made a smart decision. He kept it alive to the very last second. I was like, okay, he's making good decisions. Missed a couple of routine throws that he has to hit. I think they were very easy throws. He was not perfect, but it was just different. Then you have Caleb Johnson saying how much that helped him get going, and he had 3 touchdown runs of 25 yards or more. You said they have to key in on Sullivan now and not just me. But again, you being a former player, you understand the process of this. That's great that Sullivan played well. Wisconsin's game planning all in on Brennan Sullivan now. Yeah. He's not switching in halfway through. He is at the top of the scouting report, and there's a big difference between if you're trying to scout Cade or Brendan in the 1 spot or 2 spot.
Nonetheless, it's still, if you have the mobility and that capability as a quarterback, it's still it's a harder scout than it would be Cade. And I think that's just what people in general. I think the biggest thing about Brendan and any other, Jimmy Sullivan or whatever quarterback you bring in, that pretty much all of them are dual threats in the most recent recruiting classes. Like we're not really, from my knowledge, you're the recruiting guy, but I don't think we really have looked at or signed or trying to sign anybody that looks like Nate Stanley and is just a pocket passer anymore. Like we're pretty much just, and that's just sort of where football has gone in general. And I think it's more important to have Brendan in the game, not because of all the superficial things like, oh, he's just somebody different than Cade. Oh, he's,
that's the wrong
XYZ.
reason to make the change. Ultimately, I agree.
The right reason is mostly because I think he's the kind of guy that fits Leicester's system the best. And that's
absolutely,
having players that fit your system is ultimately very important. And so, and that can only grow from here. So that's exciting, not just for this year, but next year as well, assuming that he, again, like you said, doesn't shit the bed, proves that he's something, and then they go into an off season and they'll have a lot of time to work and get better on that. So I don't know.
It's also worth noting too, like, remember Cade got recruited by Brian Ferentz and Kirk Ferentz. Like this was not the system that he came here to run. And that's why I've said, and again, this is a bad situation for Cade because Cade's last meaningful snap in his football career could be getting booed off the field after throwing a pick 6. Like that is a sad sight to see, especially after all the injuries and everything that he's continued to have to battle through just to keep his football career alive. So I do think we need to put the human element in that for all the criticism about his on-field play. It sucks. There's no other way for it other than to say it sucks for him. With that being said, I've also been to the point where you mentioned it. This is the play style that Leicester wants to run. And again, this is Kirk Ferentz giving Tim Leicester full reign. Like Kirk is not some dictator overlooking all of this. Like he's the CEO. He makes business decisions. But he's not the one saying, Leicester, you can't put in this player or this player. He has to say there are discussions in that. But I'll also go back to this. Like Sullivan's skill set, when he left Northwestern, entered the portal, obviously myself, Chad, Lysko, a few others connected the dots, so this makes a lot of sense. If Brendan Sullivan had been here for spring practice, I'm of the belief that Sullivan would have started this entire season because he fits more with the way that things are going to run. And if you look at next year with Jimmy Sullivan, they have the guy from California, Cash Herrera, already committed in the class of 2026.
I'm
Like,
all in on Cash, by the way. What a name. God, I mean, the NIL.
perfect
I mean, it's
system fits.
Oh, man.
And
I'm gonna hit up Cat. I'm gonna DM Cat, and I'm not because I don't DM high school kids. I think that's weird. But once he's on campus, I might hit this guy up and be like, "Yo, let's do a collab, walk on merchandise line for Cash, dude. Come on,
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Brennan's the guy, and it does suck for Cade because I probably take for granted a lot of the time how well my personal career worked out. Not like there was a little bit less volatility at a long snapper position, but
Sure.
I got to come in behind a senior. Somehow they didn't have someone lined up behind him, and they're like, okay, last minute, Casey Kreider's senior year, we're going to grab this kid and hope he works out. I happen to. I get to start for 4 years. I never missed a game from the time I started. I was healthy. Not even no sickness. And I had a pretty good career. I got to play in good game, and not everybody's career works out like that.
Yeah.
In fact, probably more people's career have these. It's part of what this podcast has been about in the off season when we bring on our former teammates is like telling their stories. You get to hear the human side of them. It's like, oh shit, like not everybody's career is just like all roses and it's like easy breezy, like stroll down the street. There's a lot of obstacles and stuff that happens. So
people don't know this behind the scenes stuff. And again, I'll relate. I know I talked about women's basketball earlier in the podcast, but like Hannah Stolke, who absorbed a lot of criticism for not being a true 5 last year, and it was a tough task for her. Like she's 6'2", athletic freak, runs the floor better than anybody in the country. Right?
By the way,
she was hurt all last year. She had an injured knee and got it repaired in the offseason. So she was doing all of that with an injured knee. Well, and it never came out until
asking someone to be a 5 when they're not a 5 is just like you're just round square peg round hole.
And again, you're hurt, and she played through that. Like it's not
right,
all
and she's a boss.
Like, yeah,
she's a baller. Cool. Well, we've been up and down.
We knew it was to be quarterback talk.
And we've been up and down. We need to stay up here. We need to win this game. I think it's going to be a difficult. I feel like this could turn into like a Kinnick Classic. I think there's potential for that.
This is the first time Iowa is favored against Wisconsin in 10 years.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
Iowa's favored by 3 right now. If they slow down Tawee Walker, I think that there's a great chance Iowa wins. Braden Locke has thrown an interception, at least one in his past 5 games. Their rushing defense is 67. Actually, Wisconsin, among the teams remaining on their schedule, Wisconsin has the worst rushing defense.
Interesting.
Caleb Johnson. I will not be surprised if Caleb Johnson goes for 180 and 2 scores at least. Seriously. They're gonna run him to the ground against this team.
Talk to me. I would love that.
Yeah, break that Sean Green record.
I'd love I just did the math. He's currently on pace to break Sean Green's single season rushing record by like 9 yards. If he averaged throughout the next 5 games, assuming they make a bowl game, which bowl eligibility on the line this weekend.
We'll see if Caleb Johnson even wants to play though.
Well, and there's a whole, back in Sean Green's day, you played every game.
I enjoy him.
But if he averaged what he's averaging right now for the next 5 games, he'd end up like 9 yards ahead of Sean Green's all-time season. I think he's definitely got a shot. I think 20 is the touchdown number.
20 is the touchdown. He's got 16.
He's definitely going to I don't want to jinx him, but he's definitely going to break the touchdown number.
You know what's interesting too? I think he's got like 34 or 35 fewer carries than Sean Green did through this many games.
Yeah, he's got, and you look at the stats. People are comparing him and Genty to the previous 2 Heisman running back winners, which are Henry and Ingram, and he's got way less carries than them. Those guys were absolute workhorses. Like feed them 25, 30 plus a game. Caleb's more of like a 15 to 20 times a game.
I think I think he's capable of doing more, to be honest with you.
I think he is too.
I think Iowa's just trying to like keep him good.
I
Because
love what Moulton and Patterson give us though when they come in. Like I don't feel like there's a ton of drop off, to be honest. Like he's obviously our high end like feature back, but those two can run and are really good Division I football.
the running back room under Liddell Betts is in a phenomenal spot. Like there's really not much to worry about there.
Yeah. Well, another week with David Eichholt. Thanks for being here, my man.
Yeah, dude. We'll see if the vibes stay high next week or if we go back to full on crash out mode.
Could crash out. I don't know. Keeping the vibes high with the KF Press Review Show. We'll talk to you guys next week. See you then.